Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is the brother Kadab, GMS Gulf Coast. I'd like to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah, Kodash. Double honors are given unto the apostle, elders of Great Millstone, men who have labored and suffered in this truth for over 30 plus years, making their lives and their bodies a living sacrifice. I also like to send a shalom to the hopeful elect, the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, the speckled bird, which is scattered throughout the four winds of planet Earth, north, south, east, and west, which are made up of men, women, and children. I also like to send a shalom to the various GMS camps, elders, and heads. Last but not least, I'd like to send a shalom to any of you Akim not named GMS. We're walking one body, one spirit in Yahweh Shai, preaching and teaching this 100% truth with all faith and sincerity. To you all, shalom. Nightly news for broadcast June 7th. Just going to just play a quick snippet of the broadcast. I'd like to say before this video gets started, this is just purely through the spirit. Filthy. Like you're filthy. What we see in the world in our day-to-day lives as we walk in Babylon the Great, or the daughter of Babylon, a.k.a. America. We filter by way of the scriptures so that we know what time we are in. Like the scriptures say, measure thy time diligently in itself. So by way of filtering what we see on news and what we encounter day to day in the world as the Lord allows us to receive our daily bread. Then we reflect on that. And filtered by way of the scriptures. Anyway, let's let a little snippet of this play.
Tonight, the momentum in Washington to pass new gun laws in the wake of deadly mass shootings. Signs there may be a bipartisan deal. What's in, what's out? And the calls for change on Capitol Hill, the son of the oldest victim of the Buffalo supermarket shooting, testifying his powerful message. And at the White House, Uvalde native Matthew McConaughey joining the briefing, saying now is a window for real change. Ahead, the emotional moment the actor's wife, with a replica of the green Seekers, used to identify one of the 10-year-old victims. Also tonight, gas prices surging past $5 a gallon in 13 states. The rest of the country likely not far behind. Will Americans start cutting back on driving? Primary election night in 7 states, all eyes on California, where progressive Democrats are facing a major test on crime. The severe storm threat and potential tornado danger across 15 states tonight, we're tracking it. Major trouble for the airlines. Will there be enough pilots when you fly this summer and beyond? And the 94-year-old who still climbs 17 stories to brighten the lives of others.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, I'm Savannah Guthrie in for Lester, and tonight the impassioned calls for change in this country from a Uvalde teacher, the lone survivor of his classroom among 11 dead students, to a grieving son of Buffalo in a hearing room on Capitol Hill, to the White House briefing room where this afternoon the actor and Uvalde native Matthew McConaughey made a surprise appearance, eulogizing the dead in heart-wrenching detail, down to the green high tops that were the only identifying marker left for one little girl, so ferocious were the wounds from the gunman's AR-15. For a moment, the nation was captivated. Rare roadblock coverage on cable news. We have been here many times, but tonight bipartisan momentum appears to be growing for some change to the nation's gun laws. What's on the table, and will it make a difference? NBC's Gabe Gutierrez leads us off.
Tonight, as the U.S. grapples with a dramatic surge in gun violence, relatives of those killed in the Buffalo massacre are taking their grief to Capitol Hill.
Gun access is certainly a driver of this violence.
Garnell Whitfield lost his 86-year-old mother, Ruth.
I'm
What do you miss most about your mother?
I miss everything about my mother.
Pamela Pritchett will never again see her 77-year-old mother, Pearl.
I had to bring a hat to the funeral home because this vile monster, he wasn't just satisfied to shoot my mother one time. He stood over her and he shot her again.
Today, the White House got a high-profile boost in its push for new gun legislation from actor and Uvalde native Matthew McConaughey.
We are in a window of opportunity right now that we have not been in before.
An emotional McConaughey grimly highlighting a replica of green shoes worn by one of the Uvalde massacre's young victims, 10-year-old Maite Rodriguez.
These are the same green Converse on her feet that turned out to be the only clear evidence that could identify her after the shooting. How about that?
Bipartisan negotiators now say a gun deal could be reached this week. Democrats don't have the votes to raise the minimum age to buy AR-15 style rifles. Negotiators are instead focusing on stricter background checks, incentivizing states to pass red flag laws, more money for mental health, and school security. McConaughey pleading for compromise.
We need to restore our American values, and we need responsible gun ownership. Can both sides rise above? Can both sides see beyond the political problem at hand and admit that we have a life preservation problem on our hands?
Also in Washington, but seemingly a world away from the halls of Congress.
He was fun-loving. He did his best to stay out of trouble.
Alvancia Jackson is mourning the loss of her grandson Malachi. The 15-year-old was shot and killed in April near his home in Northwest D.C. Police arrested a 16-year-old for the killing. Violent crime in Washington is up 16% in the last year.
These kids is getting guns like they get ice cream.
With this week's focus on headline-grabbing mass shootings, she wants those dealing with daily gun violence not to be forgotten.
What would you tell members of Congress right now as they debate gun reform this week?
Harder laws. We need harder gun laws.
And gave more emotional testimony expected tomorrow. Survivors of the Uvalde shooting will appear in Congress.
Yeah, that's right, Savannah. Among the witnesses, that fourth grader who covered herself in blood and played dead to survive. Meanwhile, the gun violence memorial is back up here at the National Mall. More than 45,000 flowers representing gun deaths each year. Savannah?
Try this strange 10-second technique tonight.
Real quick, let's grab a scripture. America has seen its better days. America has seen its better days, or rather her better days. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah 51. This is Jeremiah 51 and verse 6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of the Lord's, Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take up blum for her pain. If so be, she may be healed." Verse 9, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies." Hey, this place has been the playground for the for the wealthy, the elites, But, these people have sown wickedness throughout the whole planet. Now they're putting out all the stops, Matthew McConaughey, the Lincoln commercial actor. And I say that because he does a lot of pitching for the car company Lincoln, Yeah, he's a movie actor, out of Hollywood, of course. He played in quite a few movies. I'm not no big fan of Matthew McConaughey, but I know he's an actor. And to see him standing on the floor of at an official United States governmental briefing deal, on gun laws, hey, that goes to show you, man, Hollywood and the government, hey, they one and the same. With their enchantments and sorceries and spell casting and all that. They one and the same, Anyway, I want to pull up something here. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Let's see. On gun registration, the NRA, Adolf Hitler, and Nazi gun laws. Is gun ownership legal in Germany? What weapon did Hitler carry? When did Hitler come into power? No evidence Hitler made this statement about gun control. Let's see if we can find a little, because see, the same thing happened in Germany during the Second World War. They made sure they disarmed Slovakia, the public by and large, and it made it easier for the Gestapo or the Nazi strong-arm men to go in and roll over the people. Documents type. It says, say the words gun registration to many pro-gun Americans, and you are likely to hear that one of the first things that Hitler did when he seized power was to impose strict gun registration requirements that enabled him to identify gun owners and then to confiscate all guns. And you heard that they said that they was creeping closer to bipartisan support, meaning that both parties, they're gonna put aside all the isms, schisms, and their little spats and fights and whatnot, and they're gonna come to a bipartisan agreement. So they say this is what's the lingo that's going on in the high echelons of the U.S. government. The Democrats and the Republicans fighting over the coup at the Capitol building, fighting over abortion rights, fighting over stimulus, all kind of things they fighting over. You know what I'm saying? They can't come to odds by. But there's a hint in the air, just a hint, that they may be coming to a bipartisan agreement on gun control. Ain't that something? Anyway, let's read. Let's see, where was I? And gun owner. Let's see, requirements enabled him to identify gun owners and then to confiscate all guns, effectively disarming his opponents and paving the way for the Holocaust. One of the more curious twists in the historical debate, though, it is that the most vocal opponent of his argument is also pro-gun. It is the National Alliance, a white supremacist organization. According to them, German firearms legislation under Hitler, far from banning private ownership, actually facilitated the keeping and bearing of arms by German citizens by eliminating or I can't pronounce that word, restrictive laws which had been enacted by the government preceding his. So which pro-gunner should we believe? Following Germany's defeat in World War I, the Weimar Republic passed very strict gun control laws in an attempt both to stabilize the country and to comply with the Versailles Treaty. The Versailles Treaty of 1919, law that in fact required the surrender of all guns to the government. These laws remained in effect until 1928, when the German parliament relaxed gun restriction and put into effect a strict firearm licensing scheme. These strict licensing goes into permission. These strict permission regulations foreshadowed Hitler's rise to power. If you read the 1938 Nazi gun laws closely and compare them to earlier 1928 Weimar gun legislation as a straightforward exercise of statutory interpretation, several conclusions become clear. First, with great regard to possession and carry of firearms, the Nazi regime relaxed the gun laws that were in place in Germany at the time the Nazis seized power. Second, the Nazi gun laws of 1938 specifically banned Jewish persons from obtaining a license to manufacture firearms or ammunition. Third, approximately 8 months after enacting the 1938 Nazi gun laws, Hitler imposed regulations prohibiting Jewish persons from possessing any dangerous weapons, including firearms. I'm going to read a little bit more and then I'm going to go into the precepts. It says, the difficult question is how to characterize the Nazis' treatment of the Jewish population for purpose of evaluating Hitler's position on gun control. Truth is, the question itself is absurd. The Nazis sought to disarm and kill the Jewish population. Their treatment of Jews is, in this sense, I can't pronounce that word, to their gun control views. Nevertheless, if forced to take position, it seems that the Nazis aspired to a certain relaxation of gun registration laws for the law-abiding German citizen, for those who were not, in their minds, enemies of the National Socialist state, in other words, Jews, communists, etc. And that goes hand in hand around here. They speak that gun control, the NRA, but when you look at the NRA, it's made up of a lot of white supremacists, so-called white supremacists. The good old boys. And they can go and buy all the ammo they want. But you jakes, you're trying to run in there and buy ammo, this, that, and the third, to try to arm yourselves or try to protect yourselves. All you're doing is putting a mark. And these folks can track you and come and seek you out, come check you out. But they're going down the same historical loopholes that they did in Germany. This place is an amalgamation of different kingdoms and societies that predated America, and they usually go back into the playbook of their ancestors to essentially, you know what I'm saying, to make hell day to day for its citizens. Now, I want to grab a few scriptures because this place has been digging a hole for you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Seminole Americans for the whole duration of us being over here. Now, all of this is going to backfire, and we're watching it, you know. We're watching it all backfire. Let's see. Let me go to Proverbs real quick. Let's go to Proverbs real quick. I said Proverbs, not Proverbs. Yeah. Thought I was there. I'm going to grab a few precepts. And I'm going to lock it. And I'm going to close out. This is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 17. It says, the merciful man do good to his own soul, but he that is cruel trouble his own flesh. And Esau, Edom, so-called white man, can't see that. He's not spiritual to see that. He's troubling his own flesh. You know, we know this was talking about so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans for the most part, but we're not in control. We're not in power. We're talking about these so-called white folks, these Edomites, these people who have ruined the planet. That's what we're talking about. It says, verse 18, it says, the wicked worketh a deceitful work. But to him that soweth righteousness shall be a sure reward. It says, verse 18, the wicked worketh a deceitful work, but to him that soweth righteousness shall be a sure reward. And that sure reward is life, everlasting. Co-inheritors with the Lord and Savior, Yahushua, who been given the power by his father, Yahweh, to do this work, to return back to the law, statutes, commandments, you know what I'm saying? Return back to your heritage. Return back to your ways and forsake the world. There's a sure reward behind that. But this working, this wickedness, see, this gun deal, see, they, like I said, this is something that they did back in the days as well, you know. So, you know, you just go check his track record. These ain't nothing but rehatched game plans, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, you know, spread apart. Just enough time for you to forget. A couple of generations, two, three generations pass, and you forget all about it, because, you know, they give you a new rhythm, a new reality show, a new theme park to go visit to distract you, you know, a new football team. So it just be just enough time for you to forget that. But this man has been sowing wickedness, and all of this is going to catch up with him. That's all this is about, you know. This place is full of wickedness, deceit, lust, murder, envy, you know, covetousness, you know, blaspheming, all of the above. This is what this place is all about. Abominable behavior, abominable lifestyle, alternative lifestyle. That's what this place promotes. That's what this place promotes. Yeah. Matter of fact, let's go to another one. Let's see. Because he been digging a ditch for the longest. But he about to fall in his own ditch. And it's beautiful to watch him. He can't keep himself from falling in it. It's beautiful. It really is. This is Proverbs 26. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 24, and it says, he that hated dissembled with his lips and layeth up deceit within him. When he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Hey, and they talking about coming together, being fair-minded, being reasonable-minded about this gun control. Both sides, mind you. These people at the brink of civil war. Trump calling. There's new documents coming out about Trump and Pence, how they was at odds over this January 6th coup, where he wanted Pence to essentially, because the vice president is the one vote that can tilt or sway deals in the Senate. So all he had to do was just go along with the get along, Mike Pence, as far as just giving the election to Trump, but he wouldn't do it. So, and that's new evidence is popping up saying that Mike Pence was skirted off. He didn't want to go, though. He didn't want to go, but he was skirted off and into one of these underground tunnels under Washington, and was being put into one of those armored built Cadillacs that they ride in. And he was saying that he didn't want to get in the car. Man was actually scared for his life. So when they say, when he speaketh fair, believe him not. When he say that they're going to be bipartisan on this gun deal, believe him not. Because it's something slick and treacherous that he's doing, to be sitting up here showing, to even be putting out there that they're going to be, reasonable, civil about this gun deal. But this, they got Matthew McConaughey coming up there crying, reading from a script, putting up some store-bought, what them is, them high-top basketball shoes, green shoes. This was the only sign, or the only evidence that this little girl, this and then the third. Man, there's a lot of ambiguity that's going on with that, with these shootings and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? That's why I say, man, this man is just showing he's sown wickedness, and so he gonna reap the same. That's why I read that scripture. He the digger the ditch, Proverbs 26 and 27. I'm about to get there. It says, when he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart and his mind, whose hatred is covered by deceit. These people hate one another, but they gonna come together about gun control. It's some slick shit going on now, and we're not to be swayed either way, because guess what? The so-called white folks on the Democratic side and so-called white folks on the Republican side, and guess what? They are both Edomites. No matter what side, whether they're on the right wing or the left wing, they still on the same damn bird. We're not to be fooled by none of this melee and posturing and and sensationalized speeches given by actors. No, we're not to be fooled by any of that. It says, whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be shewed before the whole congregation. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return unto him. See, all of this is coming back. All of this is coming back. So they got to disarm this place, man. That's a it's lucky. That was a well, I'm gonna just leave that be. But this place is heavily armed. The United States citizen is very, very heavily armed. And if they know they're going to have to roll on these people, they're going to have to get them guns out them folks' hands. So they're doing a little role play, a little Hollywood, a little razzle-dazzle. That's what's going on. Verse 28, and it says, a lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it. And a flattering mouth worketh ruin. Hey, man, these folks is showing in all this wickedness. It's going to come back. We're watching it play out right now. That was one of these state senators talking about make Congress get great again. Mississippi State Senator. There's a commercial going around. I do believe he's driving down Highway 90 across the Bay Bridge. They're going into Bay St. Louis, and he's speaking about how they're wicked politicians and this, that, and the third. But they never address the truth of the matter. They are wicked, pointing fingers and whatnot. These folks is the whole gang. Anyway, let's pull a few more precepts. I don't want to make this too long. Matter of fact, I talked about, let's see, Galatians, go to Galatians, New Testament. Yeah. All the little games that this society, this man plays, it done played out for the most part. And for the hopeful elect, the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, Lord willing, we be of that elk, starting with the apostle elders of Great Millstone, the hopeful elect, the speckled bird, the elders and the heads of GMS camps, and the brothers who go out on the highways and hedges not named GMS, but walk in truth and sincerity with the 100% doctrine. We're not deceived by any of this. We see this. We see it for what it really is. This is Galatians 6, start at verse 7. It says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. And if you've been going around the world since you've been given the scepter of power, since you come up out those rocks and those caves, and you've been given this little season to deceive and the hoodwink the whole world, then guess what? What you sown, you gonna also reap. You're not gonna get away from what you've done. Nobody does. Nobody. It's not just the so-called white man and these other heathens that joined and had a little glory time. Some about the Arabs and their oil and the Chinese and their technology and so forth and so on. You all got to pay for what you've done. And so goes the 2/3 of our people. That's why 1/3 of the nation of Israel is trying to get it together day in and day out as the Lord allows them to awake each day, giving them that loving, kind, and mercy. Another day to get it right. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They may trip up and get back up and keep marching toward the right end, the straight gate. Verse 8, it says, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And it reads verse 9, it says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So, we got to keep at it. If the Lord has called you into this truth, Lord willing, we Abarat we stay at it. Lord, keep the Spirit on us to keep at this. And you can't faint. You gotta be rejuvenated through the Spirit and keep it moving. Because what these people have done, they got to pay for it. And the wickedness that we've committed in these fleshly and filthy bodies, hey, we need all the mercy that the Lord will bestow on us, Lord willing. So you can't return back to that foolishness. No, sir, you can't return back to that foolishness. One or two more precepts, and I'm going to go and close this out. I didn't want to make it too long. Let's see, Job 4. And straight to the point, it reads. This is Job 4. And I'm going to get straight to the point, verse 8. And it says, even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. And the verse there above it says, remember, I pray thee, whoever perish being innocent, or where will the righteous cut off? Hey, point in verse 8 is telling you, even as I've seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness reap the same. And have not this man reaped and plowed? He's plowed iniquity and wickedness. He's reaping that. This society is complacent in its wickedness, especially 2/3 of our people. They're complacent in it. They love it. They don't want to hear nothing that disrupts that wicked ass lifestyle. They don't even want to deal with it. They love this place. So guess what? They're gonna go down with this place. Now, Esau Edom is he's moving to different adventures in the last few seconds of his kingdom. Cryptocurrency, better ways to identify everyone on the planet, to keep virtual record of every and anything that you do. But all that's gonna come crashing down. I'm gonna close out with this one. Because he's not gonna accomplish what he's seeking to do. It just seemed that way. It just seems that way. This is Job 20 and verse 22, and it reads, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. He's going to go through problem. That word right there dealing with difficulty. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And you're seeing that, with these, they about to fight one another, much less fighting the Edomites across the pond. They about to fight one another here. And mind you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native, and Seminole Americans, you are never far from their mind and the demise of the nation of Israel. They may be get ready to scrap one another, but you are at the forefront. You believe it not, you the reason why. It says, when he is about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So, in the end, you reap what you sow. And the so-called white man, Esau Edom, whose biblical nationality is Esau, you've sown wickedness throughout the whole world. And it's coming back. Lord willing, it was edifying. I'm going to give all praise and honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. Double honors to the apostle elders. With that, Shalom.